If you don't watch Call the Night for any other reason, at least go check out the OP and the ED. They are just absolute fire. Like, easily the best of the season so far. We technically got a little bit of a taste of the OP theme song itself in the ending of the first episode, but yeah, got the full OP and the full ED in episode 2 of Call the Night, and they are just great. I think the thing that I love, both of them are super catchy. Both of them fit the theme of the nightlife and everything so well. It's got that feel of the coloring and everything that this show itself kind of infuses. It's so perfect. And additionally, on top of that, just I love everything about the visuals. Like, the OP has this whole thing where at some point all the characters, when the song kind of comes to like a very low beat point, it's almost like they're sitting around inside of a TV studio or something like that, and they're looking at the raw or something like that. So they're all standing around waiting for the music to kick back up, and then suddenly everything gets flipped upside down. And it seems like to be the concept of here is the idea of your world itself being turned upside down, and it just nails it. It nails it so well. The characters are great. The animation's fantastic. A lot of the typography, I think they call it, just kind of all over the place. It just looks so good. It's just a great OP. And yes, the ED, yes, technically a lot of still sketches that are being colored in. Some good sketches, some good angles. Honestly, if you're a fan of Nazuna already, you're probably eating that all up. But yeah, additionally, just having her like with the cityscape in front of her in this miniature size, and her just messing around with stuff, and it's just they're both just absolutely fantastic. Just great OP, great ED. I have both of them posted on my Twitter, however long they'll stay up. I don't think they really fuss too much with Twitter and putting OPs and EDs up there. So, and they'll definitely be featured on our music podcast episode. But yeah, I have talked almost 2 minutes just on the OP and the ED, which are fantastic. But no, episode 2 of Call the Night was great so far. I really do love kind of the shift of conversation, because in the first episode, a lot of the focus was really on Ko really getting away from his life, getting away into the Call the Night, and additionally getting the introduction of Nazuna and this idea that the only way that he could become a vampire, which he thinks he's perfect for, like, this seems to be my life. Like, I think I'll enjoy being a vampire much more than my life itself, because yes, he's a shut-in. He doesn't go to school anymore because he was bullied. All this stuff that drove him away from the daylight in the nightlife. And I think the funny thing that we're kind of introducing with the second episode is Nazuna's side of things, where she gets very easily embarrassed by the discussion of love. And the thing that he's kind of questioning at the very end of the episode is, I wonder if Nazuna has ever had experience with love, because it seems like she has issues with it. She sits here and makes so many jokes about this, lewd jokes, but yet when it comes to conversations about just love, she freaks out. Like, she starts getting embarrassed and blushing and everything. And even him suggesting the idea of being her friend throws her off. I mean, or at least even being more formal with her, replacing San with Sean, completely throws her off. And I really like that. Which is, again, very, very in contrast to the way she acts. Like, she's always just saying things so easily that shouldn't be easily said. I mean, the whole idea, the very opening of the scene is just kind of readdressing the idea that the only way that he could become a vampire is for her to create an offspring, which requires the one that she bites to love her. And they started talking about the idea that, yeah, technically she is feeding. Like, vampires do feed, but in the idea of this world and how they handle vampires in this particular world and setting, like, this is how they create offspring. And so while he's kind of poking at this, she's like, yeah, that's technically how, this whole thing happens. And so when he asks, what were you going to say the other day? She's like, oh yeah, I really like your blood. It's really good. And then he goes, okay, well, you can have some more. And she goes, cover that up. Like, it's like, this is, I mean, at this point, I really want to see other vampires in this world, because I really want to know if Nazuna is just completely different than everybody else. Like, is what they're suggesting here, is it all in her mind, or is this real? Like, the idea that this area where she's biting into is, again, that side of creating a baby, basically. And so she's really embarrassed to see his neck out in public. Like, that's lewd, because this is the thing that she creates offspring with. When she bites people and they love her, that technically creates babies. So again, it's kind of a weird, it's very weird. And again, I really want to know if it's just because Nazuna is just weird and different. Which, I don't know, they introduced something at the very end of the episode, which apparently is one of Ko's friends. So I'll be curious to see maybe if she turns out to be a vampire as well, or if she's just a childhood friend that's going to be looking after him, wondering why he's up at night all the time, why he's not going to school, possibly trying to pull him back into school. Or if, she's going to be a vampire, and then we'll get that perspective of, is Nazuna weird or is this normal? Because it just seems like a very weird take on the whole vampire genre. I've never really, yes, a lot of vampire stories, when you bite, it's usually like how much you drink depends on if they'll turn on. I've seen a lot of vampire stories where if the vampire goes to feed, they typically drain everything so the person dies. But there's cases where if they don't take all the blood and the person survives, it's almost like a poison, they'll become a vampire. So never really had it from the perspective of that's literally the other side of the making babies thing. So that's, again, very weird. But no, I think the other thing that I really treasured about this episode, and this is kind of something that shows me that this show can be something so much more than just being, yes, Nazuna. She's very attractive, and she's got a great personality, great character design, and again, all the style of the show itself. The other side that I'm kind of seeing a lot of positivity for myself is the chemistry. Like, they're pulling off very natural feeling chemistry of the characters. The opening of the transceiver, obviously, is Ko talking about how he needs a way of communicating to Nazuna. And she has a cell phone, but it's a brick cell phone from way back in, like, the 90s, like early 90s, maybe 80s. Like, this is some old technology cell phones. Like, there's a lot of kids watching this show and going, what the hell was that? Unfortunately, I feel old in knowing what that is, because my father had one when he was working, and yes, he had one of those big old gigantic bricks, and that was like the early stages of cell phones. And so that's the only thing she has. So he wants to find a way to communicate to her so he can find her, because they keep having to search everywhere for each other. And so he gets out these little transceivers, and he's talking about how one time he had one, and the reason why he got it was because he didn't have any friends, but he wanted to communicate. He wanted to use it. It looked so cool. And so he left it somewhere. And we obviously find out where it went to. His childhood friend picked it up. But the whole joke here is that, yes, he's a poor, pitiful kid that never had anybody, and he never communicated to it. Somebody picked it up and he never communicated to it. But he's going to do it now. But what was really cute was the scene with them communicating. Like, he finally goes to press it, and they're doing this back and forth between each other. And she's like, I see a target. Should I go after it? He's like, no, you should let it, just keep watching it. And she starts giggling. And like, credit to the seiyus. Honestly, credit to the seiyus, credit to the writing, credit to the directors. It felt so natural. Like, it felt like a silly conversation between two people. It didn't feel like it didn't feel rote. It didn't feel staged. It felt so natural. That scene was so good. Like, it was so simple, but it was such a good scene to show you how naturally fun these two characters can have. This is a bonding point. A point where the two of them are just having fun. I mean, technically, when he showed the transceiver to her, she went goofy crazy about it, which was, yes, shocked him and me as well. But she's a goofball. Like, it shows that Nazuna, deep inside, she's a goofball, and could be technically hitting on this idea that she's never had a fun childhood. Like, as much as she makes fun of Ko for being a shut-in and having no friends, it's a side that you can believe that she has never had friends. She's never had fun with other people. And so this is a new experience for her. And so it's almost like she's finally having her childhood. And that's kind of what I think they're hitting on. But it was so good. I really did enjoy that scene. I think it was just kind of a standout. And there's very few shows. There's very few shows out there that will have these points where it feels natural in a scene. To be perfectly honest, as much as I love anime, and I've watched a lot of anime, there's technically very few cases where when I hear a scene, I hear the seiyus, I hear the conversation, I hear how it's laid out, and it feels natural. I mentioned quite a while back when I watched Tari Tari. Tari Tari was one of those few cases where they had this conversation with these kids, and they were talking over each other. And it's like, you never realize until then, like, that's right. you never hear anime characters talk over each other. If anything, if somebody interrupts somebody, you'll hear the dialogue stop before somebody speaks. They're that like focused on never speaking over each other. Like almost they don't want the recording to overspeak each other. Or at the same time, it could be a cultural thing that you never speak over somebody else. You always politely wait. But even as friends, like I understand like in a business setting or something, but friends just casually talking, not just speaking over each other, or just one talking to this person while this person's talking to this person, it feels so unnatural. And so when you hear it, it feels natural. And again, back to my whole point, that scene felt natural. It felt very fun and very childlike. But again, I think that's what they're hitting on. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to more. The whole scene in the bedroom was fantastic as well. Just him kind of realizing, yeah, I feel embarrassed, but I think that's natural because I'm technically in the bed with this lady. And it just really, again, hitting on this heavily on this idea of when will he finally meet that point in which he falls in love? Because technically anything so far is just more probably lustful. Like just, yes, I'm in the presence of somebody that's attractive and they're kind of forward with me. So breaking that boundary from it just being about lust to being about actual love is obviously something they're going to hit on it, and I cannot wait for more of it. Again, I think my biggest thing right now is I really want to see if I need another vampire to show up so I can really see. Obviously, more vampires are going to show up. There's plenty of characters in the OP, and there's plenty of characters on the key art, and I know plenty of them are probably going to be vampires. We've already hit it heavily on the idea that she knows that his blood is very tasty, and so somebody else is going to figure that out. So I forgot. I got a huge kick out of the idea that she said that she was looking for another victim. Like, I'm just looking for some more food, and he's like, wait. You went out to look for you're a slutty she-devil. And she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you just told me that eating is the same as making babies. And she's like, wait, no, that's so it's like, yes, technically her running around with other men. It is so stupid how it's drawing the parallels. It's so stupid how it's drawing the parallels of just drinking blood, eating, and getting with another guy, sucking some other guy's blood. And yes, getting very wordy with that whole idea of her running around with other men and drinking. I don't want her out drinking with drinking other men. That kind of thing is like, oh gosh, you guys are just, the innuendos here are going crazy. So anyways, that's my thoughts on episode 2 of Call of the Night. Still doing fantastic. Cannot wait for more. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment. Let me know if you think of the series so far. If you're going to be checking it out and you haven't, maybe you were giving me a couple episodes to do impressions before you jumped in there. But I can definitely say it's doing really well, and I cannot wait for more of it. But additionally, if you've not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top lists. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. I definitely appreciate everybody that supports, and you'll take care.